Welcome back to the Donovan and Jorgensen Heating and Cooling Friday Night Rivals pregame show. We're getting you ready for kickoff as the Chargers from Sussex Hamilton travel to take on the Hilltoppers from Milwaukee Marquette. So let's now break down the team from Sussex Hamilton. They're 6-1 overall, 5-0 in the Greater Metro Conference, with their only loss coming out of conference to Oconomowoc. We're now joined by the head football coach at Sussex Hamilton. He is Justin Gumm. Coach, how you been?
Doing good. Thanks for having us on.
Yeah, hey, Coach, when we set up this schedule, every year we hope for a game like this at the end of the year. But two teams undefeated in conference, both 6-1, and the storylines between the two schools and the two programs here the last couple of years is pretty incredible. You guys have had some really good games against Milwaukee Marquette, and I can tell you that interviewing Coach K prior to this, he said, look, last year, homecoming game, Sussex Hamilton took it to us, and we learned a lot from that game. And he said, look, we won a state championship, and I don't know if we do that had we not taken a beating like we did against Sussex Hamilton. Now, I don't think he wants that to happen again this year, Coach, but the amount of respect that they have for you and your program is really high.
Yeah, no, Keith and I talk quite a bit, so we have a very good relationship, and obviously we respect the heck out of those guys. And actually, Terry and I were talking about yesterday when he was at practice. I said, it's pretty cool that you schedule these way in advance, but you never know what you're going to get out of it. And this late in the season, to have the attention that this game gets ahead of time has been pretty cool. And we talked about a lot as a team this week. Not very many teams get to play in super meaningful games in week 8 and week 9 of the season, and we're blessed to be able to do that this week. So,
Coach, it's almost like playoffs started early for you, right? As coaches, we always talk about first goal is to win the conference. You guys have done that the last couple of years, and it's interesting, Coach, you won't remember this, but years ago when you took over Sussex Hamilton, I had you on my radio show, and you said, look, one of our goals is we want to be the hunted. We want to be that team that I feel like I'm okay in that position, and I think our players in our community and our school will be really good in that position. And you've gotten Sussex Hamilton to that place where people circle whenever they're playing you, back-to-back conference champions and going deep into the playoffs. You're that team right now, and you're comfortable in that space.
Yeah, no, it's been fun. It's we've been pretty fortunate, obviously, and we talked a little bit about with our kids this week, that pressure is a privilege. We're fortunate that we're three-peat conference champs, and all three of them were non-shared, all solo. And this week we have a chance to play for a conference championship. And if we win, Friday night, we at least confirm a share of it. And so that's just a piece of it. And, we're extremely excited about it, and our kids are ready to go. And, we got this one. We talk about all the time, you circle certain games. This is one, obviously, you circle on your calendar when the season and the schedule gets put out.
Yeah, I agree. Coach, let's talk about some players that people that are going to watch this game coming up next. There are some players that this year are doing great work on the field for Sussex Hamilton. I'm going to start with that quarterback. Powell's having a pretty good year.
He is, yeah. He's been pretty banged up. We just finally got him back last week after being out for a couple of weeks. And he played really, really well, especially coming off an injury. And still not 100%, but we're getting closer. And it was fun to really watch him operate and watch our offense as a whole just kind of really, really click. And we got a ton of respect for the Brookfield East defense. And so I think it was cool to just build that confidence in us going into this week.
Yeah, I think it was a great week to go into the Marquette week for you guys when you played Brookfield East. Another player, Justice Castillo, is a senior running back. Can you talk a little bit about him, Coach?
Yeah, he's really, come on this year, and it's been fun. He's an awesome kid. He works his tail off, and he's a workhorse. I mean, he may not look like it in his stature, but he had a game when Chaz was out against Menominee Falls. I think he had over 30-something carries, and we rotate two backs here and there, but he's a guy that gets really the bulk of the carries, and so it's fun to watch him take that load on. And really, he plays extremely well in the second half, and so that's when he really cranks it on. I think that's where our offensive line really gets to play in it. So just that, I don't know, the longevity of the season itself, but even within a game, it's fun to watch him really turn on late in the game.
Yeah, you hear about running backs that start to get a lather up, right? They get a number of carries, and they're better at the end of the game than they are at the beginning because they're kind of getting it after it, and that's the kind of kid he is. When you talked about the offensive line, I don't know if it starts and ends with Orlando Humphrey, but he's certainly an offensive lineman for Sussex Hamilton that he gets after it a little bit, Coach. He's an awfully good high school football player.
He is, yeah, and he's another great kid, and again, works his tail off, and true sport athlete, a basketball kid as well, and he's been a 3-year starter for us. He was an all-region kid last year, so it's not like he's a surprise to people. He's probably getting everybody's best look, but he just attacks it every week, and we know we can trust him. We actually started the year playing at guard for us, and then just as guys kind of got banged up, he moved back to tackle where he's played the last couple of years. He's just, again, he's kind of coming to his own. Really, it's been fun. I talked about Justice's progression within a game, within the season. I think offensive line too. It's a huge position that continuity is so important, and to watch their growth as the season has continued has been fun to watch. And he's the big leader of that group.
Yeah, that's awesome. On the defensive side, Coach, Stone Sanchez is a kid that defensively that you count on quite a bit.
Yeah, Stone has been a stud all season for us. I mean, obviously, genetically, he's a gifted kid, but he's really coming to his own. He played obviously last year, but he didn't start for us. Had a really good offseason, really good summer, and is really just, he's took it on a different level of maturity, which has been fun to see. How he attacks each day, how he treats his teammates. They've been awesome. So,
Coach, it's interesting. There throughout the years when I talk to high school football coaches, they say, listen, when we've had a lot of success for a few years, the underclassmen sometimes think all they got to do is put that jersey on, and maybe they don't work as hard in the off season. Coach, this is really impressive to guys like me that you've been able to stay at the top of the Greater Metro for a number of years, and these kids do not take that for granted. They get in the weight room. You guys do a lot of work in the off season. And it's impressive not only to get to the top, but to stay there, and that's what Sussex Hamilton has done. Congratulations on that.
Yeah, I appreciate that a ton. It means a lot because you're right. I mean, I've talked to Steve Jones and Muskego, King Krause, and those guys, and a lot of that it's one thing to get there, but it's even harder to maintain it. And our mantra is chopped wood, and so we are very process oriented. We talk a lot about our standard, and our standard doesn't change. We want it to be a moving target, and it keeps raising. And to our kids' credit, it's one thing to talk about, it's another thing to be about it.
100%. Hey, Coach, thanks a lot. Really appreciate your time. We're going to get to a break. Other side of the break, we're going to be joined by this week's Current Electric Behind the Scenes Superhero of the Week. This is the Donovan Jorgensen Heating and Cooling Friday Night Rivals pregame show only on My 24.